Amis du jour, bonjour. Alors, aujourd'hui on se retrouve sur What Remains of Edith Finch. Ce qui veut dire, bien sûr, qu'est-ce qu'il reste d'Edith Finch. Enfin, je pense, hein, je ne suis pas si fort que ça en anglais. Et donc c'est un jeu développé par Giant Sparrow. Et pourquoi j'ai choisi ce jeu alors que je n'en ai jamais entendu parler? Eh bien, c'est les développeurs de The Unfinished Swan, et vous connaissez mon amour pour ce jeu car je l'avais fait sur ma chaîne. Vous pourrez, je mettrai le lien de mon let's play en description parce que de la pub, ça ne mange pas de pain. Et donc on part pour cette histoire qui a l'air d'être pas mal. Je me suis pas trop renseigné, j'ai juste vu la bonne annonce, ça avait l'air joli. Donc on va commencer maintenant. Alors. D'accord. Comment fonctionne le jeu? D'accord.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you. And I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning.
Alors, je suis désolé, mais j'avais vu que on pouvait avoir... Non, on ne peut pas l'avoir en français, le jeu. Oh, mais c'est pas cool, ça. C'est pas cool du tout. Ok, c'est pas grave. C'est pas grave, on continue.
With the house.
Ok, donc, on va juste... Une dernière chose. Merde. Bon, vous savez, je suis quelqu'un qui... On ne peut pas augmenter la vitesse de caméra. Oh là 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 là. Ok, bon, c'est pas grave. C'est parti. On peut zoomer, on peut rien faire. Ok, je teste les touches.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
Ok, alors déjà, l'univers me vend du rêve. Cette grande maison au fond, tout ça, je sens que je vais beaucoup aimer. C'est dommage que... Ah non, la version française, c'est un autre jeu que je vais faire plus tard en fait. Ok, autant pour moi. Donc là, c'est sous-titré français, c'est pas grave, hein. Ce qui est quand même bizarre puisque The Unfinished Swan a été doublé. Ce n'est pas grave. Ok.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Ok. Il y a des gens qui venaient jusqu'ici pour le courrier. Comment? Je n'ai pas venu. Ah. J'aimerais bien une caméra plus vive, mais peut-être que pour l'immersion, c'est bien comme ça.
Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
Ok, donc on peut... Ah, bah déjà, il y a plusieurs rebranchements. Ce qui m'énerve parce que ça va prendre 30 ans encore pour tout découvrir. Bon, moi, je suis chaud pour descendre. Est-ce que ça influe vraiment ou c'est une espèce de mini open world? Eh ben, on saura plus tard. Mais je suis chaud pour le chemin champêtre. Enfin, forestier plutôt.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it.
Mais j'ai quel âge?
But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
Alors, à quel âge a mon personnage? Oui, le pont.
The woods around the house have always been uncomfortably silent. As if they're about to say something but never do.
En tout cas, c'est très très chouette. J'aime beaucoup cette ambiance. Je vais juste monter le son, hop, dans mon casque. Voilà. J'espère que le son est assez fort chez vous. Je peux pas le monter plus. Allez, donc là, on aurait... Ok. Ah, mais peut-être qu'on aurait eu un autre dialogue si on avait pris l'autre chemin. D'accord.
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it. I asked Edie once about the dragon in the pond. She said it had killed her husband.
Missing. Ça va être le petit frère de ça doit être son petit frère.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old,
J'aime bien.
I knew
Ah,
exactly
on a
what those
17 ans.
words were. I was afraid of the house.
Oui. Alors, moi jamais je viens ici toute seule. Comme ça, YOLO, hein. C'est mort. On peut passer par derrière. J'aime bien comment les sous-titres ils fonctionnent. C'est sympa.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
Et je pense que ça influence en fait.
The power had been turned off the night we left.
Je pense que tous les choix que j'ai fait, je pense que j'aurais pu passer par la porte d'entrée. Est-ce que je peux repasser par là? Ah ouais, non mais c'est bon. On va pas commencer à revenir sur tous nos choix. La musique est vraiment sublime.
For the first time in years, I felt like I was home.
Ah ouais, on est vraiment parti, on a tout abandonné
But
quoi.
instead of a family, there were just memories of one.
Les parents se sont pas trop fait chier, hein. Edith et Eddie. C'est plus facile à se rappeler, pour se rappeler. Alors, en souvenir de Lewis Finch, né le 27 décembre 88 et mort le 21 décembre 2010. C'est qu'il lui faisait 22 ans, je crois bien. Oui, c'est ça. Frère aimé d'Edith, fils de Dawn, petit-fils d'Eddie. Ah, Eddie, c'est donc la vieille. Ah oui, d'accord. Ah oui, j'ai rien compris. Eddie, c'est la vieille et c'est Lewis. Ok. Memorial Service, et après, on s'en fiche.
Like how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly.
D'ailleurs, on l'a oublié il y a 7 ans.
Or how only one restaurant would deliver to our house. So we had Chinese a lot.
C'est bien. Allez, c'est le vent dans la hotte. Ok. Oh, on va aller par là.
The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
Oh, une belle vue sur la vallée. Ou sur un lac plutôt. Eddie. Donc Eddie était en fauteuil roulant.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth.
J'avoue qu'ils avaient l'air pétés de thunes quand même. Hein. Putain, ce serait vraiment stylé d'avoir une maison comme ça. Bon, bien sûr,
Even the
t'as
fireplace
toujours une
had a
arme avec toi,
story.
hein?
Edie told me the bricks came from the original house after it sank.
Son naufrage. Mais ouais, je pense que je pourrais pas vivre ici si j'ai pas genre une épée ou un bâton pour me défendre quand je vais dans la forêt parce que putain, trop creepy. On fait un cache-cache? Non. Non, non. Oh, les bons patriotes. Barbara.
Great Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
Ah, ça grince beaucoup trop. Ah, ils ont l'air d'être à fond sur le Bigfoot. Ils ont l'air d'avoir fait les fausses images du Bigfoot, Barbara. Tout ça. Ok.
A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night.
Ok, bon.
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
Ok. Ok. Je sais pas si grand-mère faisait une blague, mais bon.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
Super. Mais Edith, c'était pas la grand-mère?
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room.
Elle est trop
I
cool, la
think my
chambre.
mom sometimes regretted not sealing
Comment,
it
comment,
up.
comment? Wow. C'est méga stylé. Bon, passer ma vie là-dedans, je sais pas, mais...
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
30 milieux sous les mers.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid
C'est
of.
quoi? C'est quoi ce passage secret?
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
Qu'est-ce qui te fait dire ça, le fait qu'il ait
Reading
signé
this,
son nom?
maybe it sounds like I had a plan.
Mais attends. En fait, on a un journal et c'est notre histoire qu'on est en train de vivre, ou alors c'est... Oui, non, en fait, d'accord, non, je me suis emmêlé.
But I
Ok,
had
c'est
no
pas grave.
idea what was behind that door.
Oh, ça, mais c'est chouette.
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
Oui, mais on peut ressortir comme... Ok, non, on peut pas. Oh, un joli sifflet.
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole.
Ah, il s'est échappé.
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Putain, mais même cette chambre, elle est vraiment super bien décorée. Bon, c'est moins mon délire du coup, mais...
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
Pas mal. Putain, mais cette maison grince beaucoup trop. J'ai vu Doctor Who, hein. Je sais ce que vous faites, bande de cloportes.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
Ok, c'est vraiment génial. Nourriture pour gerbille. On peut
My
manger des
Halloween
bonbons.
candy was all gone.
Oh. On va pas manger le poisson.
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Oh bah oui, pauvre Christopher. Non mais arrête, je ne veux pas manger Christopher. Waouh. Non, ça fait beaucoup trop peur. Je pourrais pas vivre ici. Bon bah on va manger la nourriture de notre gerbe. Ah mais on peut sortir. Mais est-ce qu'on veut sortir? Ah c'est juste des toilettes, ok. Attends, si ça c'est les toilettes, elle est où la vraie porte? Genre t'es obligé de passer par un passage... Ah non ok, elle est là. J'étais là genre... Seul moyen d'accéder dans cette chambre c'est le passage secret, oui oui. Oh mais je fais 1m10, c'est trop cool. J'ai même pas tilté.
I kept eating and eating.
Eh, sacré grosse dalle, j'ai
I ate
mangé.
a lot of things that night.
Attends, j'espère que c'est des vrais fruits parce que... Moi je sais que c'est des trucs en polystyrène les miens. Hein. Mais bon.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her.
Je ne peux pas passer.
And suddenly,
Quoi?
I was a cat.
Ok. C'est super cool.
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
Génial. Ça y est, j'aime ce jeu. Attends, faut sauter où là?
Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
Ok,
The babies were all gone.
Attends, mais il est pas là l'oiseau.
I jumped and I almost got her.
Salut Luxion.
I could tell she was getting really tired.
Attends, j'ai pas... Ah si, il est là-bas.
Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
Je comprends pas là. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut que je fasse? Ah mais je suis nul, attends. C'est... Génial. C'est vraiment génial. Bon, attends, faut que j'essaye d'attraper des... Ah ah!
And seen mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit.
Merde. Allez!
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Enfin, le jeu vraiment part totalement dans l'inattendu. C'est vraiment super cool quoi.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seeds. Tasted really good.
Bon là c'est un peu malaisant quand même que ce soit une gamine de 7 ans qui nous explique comment elle a mangé un phoque. Merde. Piti piti. Attends. Merde.
My eyes, everything had changed.
Oh non, je suis en poule maintenant. Wow.
Now I was a monster and I smelled people everywhere. I was big, but I moved real quiet.
Ok.
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Wow. Ah, je peux pas escalader le mur, dommage. Attends.
Passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Mais qu'est-ce que... Attends, je suis coincé. Voilà, est-ce qu'on est arrivé dans notre propre chambre? Yes. Wow. C'est super cool, mais c'est un peu malaisant là.
All my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
Ok.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Ah, et ça fait beaucoup de familles à trouver. Il y a un chat?
I can't describe it, but I felt like some part of Molly was still here.
Moi j'entends un chat, bon on va se barrer. Laisse-moi sortir! Ça y est vraiment notre chat là?
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories.
Oula,
Edie
le
would have,
clipping.
but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. We got along, and it was a good place to hide from my mom. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity. I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time.
My friend Bigfoot Random Junk. Some medal ceremony. Conspiracy news. Okay.
Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
Yo Coco GTA 5.
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones.
Oui, oui, ça va et toi? Alors. Oh.
Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea.
Ah ouais, le mec est déter quand même. Hein. Non, j'ai construit une maison, je la garde.
Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore in their new home. Orcas Island.
Mais Molly, c'est pas la gamine qui s'est transformée en chat?
Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Wow. Alors, c'est quoi comme jeu? Ça s'appelle What Remains of Edith Finch.
Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Donc en fait, si j'ai bien compris, on retourne dans une maison dans notre maison qu'on a abandonnée il y a 7 ans. Et on essaie de comprendre ce qui s'est passé, je crois. Et donc on avance dans la maison et on découvre des choses. C'est vachement bien, mais c'est très scénarisé en fait. Donc je commente peu. C'est vachement bien. 1937.
Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Ah oui, vraie salle de bain.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
Ouais, tu m'étonnes. Non, elle veut pas s'ouvrir. Ok, elle veut pas s'ouvrir. Donc en fait, finalement, les histoires, c'est pas forcément des trucs qui durent 3 ans. Molly, c'était long, mais dit c'était rapide. Donc, Sven et Eddie. Oui. Et moi, je m'en vais comment du coup? Je repasse par la porte? La fenêtre? Nope. Ah oui, elle avait beaucoup d'oiseaux. Mais laisse-moi sortir. Ah, ok. Ok. Et donc? Qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant? Il y a peut-être un passage secret à trouver encore, non? Ah non, là on a trouvé Odin, on n'a pas trouvé Eddie. Parce que Eddie, elle se trouve en face. D'accord. Bon, j'ai pas compris trop le lien entre chaque personnage. Ah, il y a une clé, d'accord. Il y a un secret dans cette salle de bain. Je me demande où est le passage secret, dis donc.
There's a secret in this bathroom.
Ah ok, c'est pas
It's in
forcément.
the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Oui, voilà, c'est ce que je dis. Mais ça va, ils se sont quand même bien craqués hein, pour faire des passages secrets assez stylés. Là, c'est les pierres de tourmal, c'est ça? Attends, qu'est-ce qu'on a là?
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Et du coup, Sam, c'est notre mère, c'est ça? Je suis pas sûr d'avoir tout suivi. Milton. Ah oui. Donc Milton, c'est notre... Qui, quoi? Ah, Milton, ce serait notre père. C'est ça. Ou alors c'est notre mère. Down, Gus. Ok. Ah, c'est cool, cette séparation. Ah, ils avaient des vraies chambres quand même, hein. Genre, c'est une vraie baraque. Mais du coup c'est cassé là. Je peux pas aller en face. Ah.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him.
Ah oui, donc en fait, au lieu de juste changer la déco des chambres, ils en construisent des nouveaux. C'est des malades. Enfin bref, enfin, s'ils sont manuels, hein, on va pas non plus... Si c'est leur kiff. Ah. Ah non mais j'ai pas encore étudié la maison. Enfin lâche la pièce, j'ai pas envie de partir déjà. Non, laisse-moi tranquille, laisse. Non, on se casse. Bon, ok, j'ai l'impression qu'on n'a pas le choix. Non, je veux pas y aller. Arrête. Et voilà, il y a toute une chambre à découvrir encore. Pourquoi je partirais maintenant? Attends. Sam et Kelvin. Alors, du coup, qui est qui? Sam, Kelvin, Barbara, Molly. Ah oui, d'accord, 1937, 1947. Ah oui, elle est morte à 10 ans. Ah, mais ils sont tous morts sauf moi. Ah ouais. Ah ok. Oui, c'est plutôt l'enjaillement, hein.
I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
Donc c'est ça, apparemment il y aurait une malédiction sur la famille. Et je serais venu pour voir qu'est-ce que c'est que ce bordel. Donc Kelvin est mort. Ok, donc c'est Kelvin qui a dû... Bon, faut que j'arrête de sortir ça à tout bout de champ. Kelvin, 1950... il est mort à 11 ans. D'accord.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
Wow, c'est tellement cool.
My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it.
Attends, mais c'est quoi ce bruit? Je veux descendre. En fait, je dois pas descendre. Ah, ça a pas l'air d'être ça. Merde! Du coup, j'ai perdu toute l'accélération que j'avais. Oups. Et je me balance, et je me balance, et nous nous balançons, c'est un plaisir immense. Oui. Wouhou.
I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
Maybe
Oh non, la
if I
branche va
hadn't
péter.
said that. Then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind.
YOLO!
That's what I want to remember
Merde,
about
du
my
coup,
brother.
j'ai décéléré. Putain.
and he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Ok.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Et ça me fait vraiment
Mom
penser.
said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Ça me fait vraiment penser à ce que pourrait être un film de Wes Anderson en fait. Ça fait penser un peu dans l'esthétique de la maison, des décors, des couleurs, à Moonrise Kingdom. Et ce qui me plaît encore plus parce que j'adore ce réal,
The
vraiment.
passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Attends, moi je suis curieux de voir ça quand même. Où le Sasquatch?
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
The Hollywood Workout, Free from School, Persuasion, Greek Tales, Alice in Wonderland. Ah, c'est quelqu'un de bien. Master of Cinema. Ah.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
Happy Birthday Barbara. Ça fait absolument 50 ans qu'il est... Attends, elle est morte il y a combien de temps, Barbara? 1960. Ouais, alors... Bon, admettons, le gâteau est encore là. Ok. The Dreadful Stories. Bigfoot. Les stèles, elles sont vraiment stylées, je trouve. Genre dans l'écorce d'arbre, comme ça.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Eh oui. Oh, c'est super cool. Putain, et la musique. C'est la musique d'Halloween, putain, c'est tellement génial.
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
Ok. Putain, mais ça arrive vraiment à mélanger toutes les ambiances, c'est excellent. Ça, c'est super creepy.
Rattled and grew still.
Oh dear!
Oh!
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Walter vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
Not. She played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges grow. He wasn't moving, but she vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream.
Comment je les mets tous dehors? Mais vous êtes sérieux? Mais j'ai cru que j'allais crever. Vous dégagez.
And she realized what was about to happen. She was going to
Quoi?
be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life.
Quoi?
I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Oh le malaise. Oh je suis choqué. Oh putain. C'est tellement bien. C'est vraiment super bien fait. C'est incroyable mais... Oh le malaise. C'est super triste. Je suis sûr qu'à la fin du jeu on va
I guess now I
crever.
know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
Ah ouais. Attends, mais du coup, c'est qui notre mère par rapport à... C'était son arrière-grand-mère? Ou c'était sa tante, peut-être? Attends, qui est Eddie? D'accord, Sam. Ah! C'était la sœur de notre mère, je crois. Ou alors je comprends rien à l'arbre généalogique. Et c'est pour ça que toutes les pièces sont capitonnées comme ça.
Edie's father Odin built the original house.
Enfin, capitonnées, toutes condamnées plutôt que capitonnées.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
Comment elle va, Barbara, en fait? Bah, elle est morte.
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
Ça sert à quoi de me léguer une maison si c'est pour tout avoir fermé?
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
Ah ouais. Ah ouais. Ok, ok. Bon. Ok, bon, on va avancer. Hein. C'est tellement bien, tellement triste et tout et tout. Sven et Eddie, d'accord. Et là, c'est Kelvin et Sam. Ouais, et là, c'est qui? Gregory.
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes.
Merde, non, reviens, je titre. Merde, quel con. J'ai pas pu entendre du coup.
I wonder if that comic was right about there being a key inside the music box near the basement.
Putain, moi à partir de là, je fais bon. Bah, je vais revenir avec des gens. Je vais rentrer chez moi là. Hein. Le vent dans la hotte est tellement inquiétant. Il faut se débarrasser de cette boîte à musique. On a retrouvé l'oreille de Barbara dedans. Attends. C'est quand même une super planque pour une clé. Non, ça serait dommage. Je me suis fait chier pour la construire. Hein. Non, on va nettoyer le sang et voilà. Ok. Mais du coup, maintenant, j'ai trop peur qu'il y ait un truc qui me saute à la gueule alors que... Non, c'est dans les histoires que c'est flippant. J'espère.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot. I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
Oh, c'est grince.
I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
Mais on voit rien. Ah.
I remember asking Mom once
J'ai vu
that
grand-mère.
Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could.
Walter, c'est qui? C'est le père ou c'était son copain? Non, son copain c'était Rick. Ah ok, abri anti-atomique.
There's a pattern in all these stories. I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Walter. Oui, c'était bien le père de Barbara, je pense.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything.
Ouais, le mec, ça fait déjà 8 ans hein, qu'il est enfermé là.
Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped.
Okay.
Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid.
Et de bouffer mes pêches au sirop depuis beaucoup trop de temps.
It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years.
Je n'ai plus de pêche au sirop.
I'm done waiting. I have to leave. Well, I still can.
Comment? Donc en 2005, j'avais 5 ans. Hein. On vivait dans la maison et il y avait mon grand-père qui vivait dans un bunker sous Mayhem. Super. Je sais que c'est là quelque part. Ah, ok.
Whatever killed Barbara. And Molly.
Ah, ce serait genre un monstre.
And Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week.
Je suis sûr que je vais me bouffer un train.
I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Bon, on est d'accord pour dire que lui, le truc le plus ridicule, hein. Mais la radio fonctionne toujours, hein. C'est assez impressionnant. Ah, mais c'était le frère de Barbara Quelle. Non. Je comprends rien à son arbre généalogique. Le pauvre peut se barrer par là. Allez, descendons dans encore plus profond. Dément dans la terre au final.
Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding.
Oh putain, les grincements.
I don't want to make the same mistakes she made.
Bon, on va y aller, hein.
Trying to bury something that's still alive.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two. I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself. And found out what happened to everyone else.
Ça c'est super mélancolique.
The stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse. We made it real.
Calme-toi, j'ai pas le temps de lire les sous-titres. Je peux me suicider, non. Oh, la musique.
I don't know if I should even be writing this.
Pourquoi il y a des chaises dans les arbres?
Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family.
À qui tu parles? Voilà. Qu'est-ce que c'est que ça?
And the history you're a part of.
Ah, c'est un totem, très bien. Ouais, ça me rappelle vraiment Moonrise Kingdom là. Il y a un truc là-bas, mais j'arrive pas à distinguer ce que c'est. Ah, on peut remonter par là-bas, ok, très bien. On va faire ça.
Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
D'accord. Bon, je me suis dit, s'il y a un chemin, c'est qu'on peut y aller. Mais oui, non. C'est pas utile. Alors, ces petites lampes de détection de mouvement dans le jardin, c'est pas trop mal, hein. C'est franchement une bonne install. Même si j'avoue que la nuit, je préfère voir l'intégrité, l'intégrité, pas du tout. L'entièreté du chemin, hein, on va pas se mentir. Parce que avec un système comme ça, tu ne vois pas les monstres, mais les monstres tu vois.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Une famille très au fait de leur malédiction, je pense.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one.
Shadow, c'est un chat. Christopher, ah Christopher du coup est quand même mort. En même temps, oui, si elle est née dans les... Bob,
Three of the
Oliver,
gerbils are mine, and two had been my fault.
Burpee, Shurpee, Furpee, Lurpee, Zurpee. Et donc, Chatsi. Ah, ça doit être un chien vu la tête de la pierre tombale. Charlie, Daisy, Lucie, Tucker, Coco. Ouais, celles-là sont trop vieilles, c'est carrément effacé. Zoé. Un autre poisson, un autre chat.
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
Oh non. C'est trop triste. Bon bah c'est Eddie qui a gagné, hein, c'est elle qui a vécu le plus longtemps. 93 ans, Sartek. Je comprends pas ce que c'est. Est-ce que c'est ça, c'est représenté? Non, 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 non. C'est pas. C'est tout ce que je voulais. Et Barbara.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide.
Ah, c'est la maison peut-être. La maison qui a sombré, c'est peut-être ça.
Edie said she dreamed about the old
Oui, c'est
house
ça.
every night.
Ok. Bon, bah il se fait tard, je vais peut-être rentrer, non?
Edie's side was always
No?
easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better.
Sam. Donc ça, c'est ma mère, c'est ça? Ouais, c'est ça. Ouais, il avait 1 an. Non, même... Ouais, si, il avait 1 an. Sanjay Kumar.
She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us.
Attendez, Milton... Ah, ok, Milton et Lewis, c'était mes frères. Et Sanjay, du coup, c'est qui?
We never found Milton's body, so my mom insisted we were putting up a monument, not a tombstone. There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Quoi? Ah ah, d'accord, en fait, la lettre est destinée à notre enfant, du coup. Oui, alors c'est sûr qu'en étant enceinte, il n'y a plus fun, hein. Et donc Sanjay, ça doit être mon copain. Et du coup, il est mort. Mais je pense que ça doit être ça. Non, j'en sais rien.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common.
Attends, mais c'est pas ma mère qui s'appelle Sam? Ah non, elle s'appelle Down. Gus, Gregory, Sam. Ok. Non, je passe la moitié du jeu à m'émerveiller et l'autre moitié à essayer de comprendre qui est qui.
They were both pretty intense. Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
Moi j'ai trouvé le raccourci, ok. Enfin le raccourci passage secret. America. Ok, donc Sam, c'est le frère de Calvin.
Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Ouh, ça grince beaucoup. Ok. Ça doit être son copain de la guerre. Attends, on dirait limite qu'il vient de se lever, grand-père. Attends, mais il a une hache. Il a une hache genre accrochée sur le côté de son lit. Au cas où, on sait jamais. Ok.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Hmm? Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged. Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. The camera's older than you are.
Aw. You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
Hold still while I take a picture of you.
I definitely won't be moving.
Are you...
Hey!
That's a keeper.
Nothing quite like being outside. I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Dawn, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire.
Je sais pas ce que je dois prendre en photo. Du coup, je photographie un peu tout et n'importe quoi.
There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map.
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn.
D'accord.
Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Voiture, petite. J'ai perdu mes lunettes.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Focus on your target. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you need to be strong. Great shot, Dawn!
Oh putain. Super la photo.
I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
Ah, ok, pardon.
Sorry, Dawn. Just gotta reset the timer.
Triste. Attends, Don, je suis perdu. Attends, Don.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Ouais, super journée en famille.
Of
La
all
morale,
these
c'est que la...
stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
Ouais, c'est... La morale, c'est que le chasser, c'est mal. Putain, mais c'est horrible, tu t'imagines? Déjà, t'as tué un pauvre animal, et en plus, le pauvre animal tue ton père. Super journée, super balade. Chérie, où est ton père? Qu'est-ce qui se passait? Ouh, si tu savais. Alors...
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Qui laisse un enfant jouer ici? Ah, ok. Est-ce qu'on est prêt à voir la mort d'un nourrisson? Ouais.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Gregory, it's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw. What his world was like. Reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw. It sure made him happy.
Mais merde! Je galère! Attends.
I know how sick that sounds. But I worried about a baby being too happy.
if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish you could have told us about the world we saw. There's so much I don't understand about Gregory, about everything. But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Putain,
I
c'est
can't
dur.
imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet
Putain, j'ai les larmes aux yeux.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea.
C'est vraiment touchant comme jeu.
Our father never hit
C'est
us
assez
kids,
incroyable.
at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom, were the words that I
now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. Rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
Ok.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Bon, il manque qui là? Il me manque Eddie, Dawn, Milton et Lewis.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died.
Je suis enceinte de 22
At the
semaines. Hein.
time, it was as far away as she could get.
Ouais, enfin, c'est pas GG comme ambiance quand même. Hein. Et toutes les nuits, elle pensait à ses frères morts en regardant en bas.
Religion was
Ouais.
another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
Putain, j'avoue, c'est pas cool. Hein. Ah, Sanjay, c'est mon père. Ah, d'accord.
She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. And to see kids in the house again. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Ah. Oh mon dieu, mais oui. Tellement.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family.
C'est tellement génial. Ça, c'est vraiment génial. C'est vraiment le clin d'œil qu'on aime, quoi. Et donc, l'histoire de The Unfinished Swan, ce serait celle de Milton. Wow, c'est vraiment trop cool.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush. was 4 when Milton disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
C'est vraiment génial.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room, until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Smoke weed every day. La Wonderland Turbo.
Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to
Non.
wander.
Ah, d'accord, j'ai compris.
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small.
En fait là avec le joystick droit gauche je dirige le personnage et avec le droit j'utilise j'avance.
He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen.
C'est vachement bien qu'on ait le choix comme ça.
The queen was on her own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. We began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Louis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him. He was so proud of being Indian. I think for him, it was a way to be something other than just a Finch. On the way back from Louis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now was to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Waouh! C'était vraiment merveilleux. C'est vraiment super triste. Très très mélancolique. Mais vraiment beau. Putain, ils sont vraiment super forts les mecs de Giant Sparrow. Bon. Voilà, c'est la fin de Qu'est-ce qu'il reste de Edith Finch. C'était vachement bien. J'ai vraiment hâte de voir du coup les prochains jeux de cette boîte. Et voilà, je suis content d'avoir partagé ça avec vous. C'était vachement intense. Je pense que je vais laisser le générique jusqu'au bout, quand même. Non, c'était vachement bien. Donc voilà, c'est un petit jeu que j'ai fait du coup. C'était pour alimenter la chaîne à la base. C'est vraiment genre, j'étais sur le le PlayStation Store et j'ai vu ça. J'ai vu que c'était par John Sparrow et voilà, je l'ai acheté ça un coup de tête pour faire un truc sur la chaîne. Puisque après, je ne le ferai pas maintenant. Je sais pas si je le ferai tout court parce que j'ai fait la démo et ça m'a vraiment refroidi quoi sur la hype. Donc voilà. C'était vraiment formidable. Bon, par contre, le vieux qui s'est pris le train, c'est vraiment le... J'ai pas compris. J'ai pas compris pourquoi il était dans son bunker. C'est vraiment dommage qu'on n'en entende pas plus parler que ça parce que quand The Last Guardian est sorti, tout le monde s'est pâmé sur la poésie du jeu. Bon, je crois qu'il y avait plus d'attentes par rapport au fait que ce soit Yuda et par rapport à Ueda et cette arlésienne quoi, mais ce jeu vaut tellement le coup. L'option refaire est maintenant disponible. Ah, je peux refaire juste une histoire. Ah, ça c'est très chouette. Voilà les amis, c'était What Remains of Edith Finch et c'était vraiment sublime. Je vous invite à partager la vidéo pour faire connaître ce jeu parce que vraiment il le mérite. Ou même pas forcément partager la vidéo mais en parler à vos amis pour qu'ils le fassent, pour soutenir l'équipe Jane Sparrow et qu'ils fassent plus de jeux. Parce que vraiment ils le méritent. Moi je vous souhaite une bonne soirée et je vous dis à plus pour une prochaine vidéo qui sera sûrement sur Fate, un jeu en VR. Salut.